ain't scared either, but I understand that some of our listeners may have been scared of The Undertaker in 1999. Of course, we know that he's written off the show in 1998 as he's buried alive. Of course,
oh my goodness.
Let's run through that real fast. He started 98 being set ablaze by his own brother in a giant coffin in January, and he finishes the year being buried alive. But he returns in classic Undertaker fashion in your old stomping grounds of Houston, Texas on Monday Night Raw on January 11th. And he's going to kidnap your old pal Dennis Knight. And, unfortunately for him, he's going to sacrifice him. And when he does, now that he's dead, he's transformed into Midian. So how does he do this? Well, simple. He starts his promo in tongues while Dennis is laid out in front of him, and Taker cuts his own wrist with a knife. And then you probably want to know what happens from there. Well,
hang on. Let me ask you a question.
The Undertaker slices open Dennis's chest. That's what he does. And look at you taking your medications.
I got that shit for a minute.
Well, while you do that, let me read this quote from the Observer, see if you can choke it up. The idea on paper is to take Bradshaw, Farouk, and Knight, none of whom are over, because the public doesn't want to see big guys who aren't pushed as monsters and aren't good workers. By hooking them in a group with a guy who is over, maybe they'll get the rub. And of course, the idea is this is the Ministry. It's going to end up being really a lot of the Undertaker's quote unquote boys, his longtime friends. Was that really a coincidence? Were you guys looking for something for these guys to do? Or when you had the idea, did Undertaker say, hey, what about this guy? What about that guy?
I think it was a group of guys that were being underutilized at the time, that being part of a group could give them the rub and could help get them over.
I'm not arguing
Different way of exposing people.
I'm just asking, was it his idea or y'all's idea to put these particular guys in the group?
I think it was a combination of both.
Okay. So it was just something everybody was all for.
It was looking at guys that needed a little something extra and talking to him about, hey, if we did this group, who would you suggest? And kind of both. As
we start to venture into this, for lack of a better word, occult-like gimmick, was there any trepidation by anyone in the organization? I mean, clearly it's no longer your daddy's WWF. It's no longer the golden era where we're strictly marketing lunch boxes and things like that to kids. We're still doing that, but we're also flipping people off and chugging beer and showing boobies and all that other stuff. So
show no boobies.
Yeah.
I mean, showed more booby than had previously been boobed.
Well, hang on now. Are you forgetting once Miss Jackie had her top ripped off, and you even had a catchphrase here on this show years ago about that?
I don't know.
I'll stop citing examples that you can't comment on in 2021, and let's move along and ask, was there any hesitation in the occult type gimmick? Like, we're doing sacrifices, we're going to cut some motherfuckers. Once upon a time, the idea that you would show a guy cutting his own wrist or cutting a guy's chest open, even if it is entertainment, that would have never happened in the WWF. But now it's a different time. Was anybody sort of dragging their feet on that idea?
I think that there was, kind of like, well, shit. In that era, is this something that is believable? I want to say, but at the same time, it was a dark figure, and you look at some of the just imagery in general, I think was darker at that time. I think that, we were kind of in an era of anti-authority, and that authority in general was viewed as evil almost. It was kind of like, it was the evil empire. When you look at Star Wars, and good Lord, the evil empire and just the dark side. What is that dark side? And I was exploring it and getting out there a little bit, and the Undertaker character lent itself to that.
I'm curious.
Do you speak in tongues?
Sure. I speak with my tongue every day.
Cool. It was a simple question.
It was. So chat me up. who's really sinking their teeth into this idea creatively? Like, who's the driving force? Is it, cause it's hard for me to say, I can understand Vince saying, God damn, what if we sacrificed him? This feels like, and again, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but it feels like these sort of extreme ideas more often than not are credited to Vince Russo. This is one that worked. We still get lots of questions about it. People really believed it and were really into this. Was this a Vince Russo initiative?
Yeah, I believe it was. I believe it was both, but also with the input of Taker. And just for the record, did I or did I not put over Russo's ideas last week on the show? We were talking about Taker.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
It wasn't last week.
Just being clear.
It was 2 weeks ago, but still.
Yeah, Conrad. Yeah. In my life,
sure. That was yesterday. Damn it!
In my existence, it could have been 6 weeks ago. It could have been yesterday.
We get to the Royal Rumble where a sacrifice has been promised and kind of happens, I guess, after Mabel returns against Mankind and loses, and he's kidnapped and will eventually become Viscera. Why is Mabel the right guy? Is it more of, hey man, anybody who's not doing shit, who might be on the chopping block, let's just give them, as you like to say, a fresh painted coat. Just try something else.
Yeah. And it was during the time where, with Undertaker being the leader of this group, I think the more the merrier, the uglier, the bigger, the monster, if you will. There were some big, mean, nasty guys as a part of that. So Mabel, looking at him at the time, it's like, okay, what are you going to do with Mabel? And again, the new paint a coat is to repackage him as Viscera. Give him a new name. Give him a whole new makeover. There's not a lot you can change with his body other than show more of it, which was frankly a positive, I think, for Mabel / Viscera, showing his body. And he was a big man and could, at times some bitch could move, kind of like you're showing your body right now.
There you go. Just for you. Hey, all
right.
So
thank you.
So Taker's doing house shows, but he's not wrestling at the Rumble. Is he still hurting? Is it not necessary for him to wrestle at this point? Because it does feel a little odd to leave one of your biggest stars off one of your biggest cards.
Well, Taker he did need some rest and he did need some time off. So having a large group around him that could go out there and do the physicality and take the bumps and everything else, I think that was good for Take to get that rest.
Undertaker and Ministry begin feuding with the corporation, and Taker goes after Vince. So I gotta ask, who's the babyface in this situation? Or in this era, are we really just throwing out the rule book and we're just telling stories now? We don't have to paint by numbers anymore.
The rule book was definitely thrown out, and you just took strong characters and told stories around the strong characters that you really cared about. Hence Undertaker and Mr. McMahon. Obviously there was an end to that story that had the twist to it. And, it all smashed the shit out of my finger. It all made sense in the end. But I think that, so, you look at it, it was characters and story driven.
So there's a pilot for SmackDown that's taped, and Taker and Shane come together to form the corporate ministry. Shane doesn't care about his sister or his father, or so it seems. In your opinion, was that kind of lame or is that cool?
Well, again, it kind of tells the family dynamic a little bit.
Sure.
And, you're sitting there and you think that, okay, the family's all back together now and going to unite against this evil. But then, damn it, the firstborn goes off and joins the damn evil ministry of darkness.
Austin finally winds up getting one over on Taker on an episode of Raw where he's going to get Taker on the symbol and he's going to crucify him.